I speak what I like. So just because y'all are going south, it doesn't mean I need to go south. I can go north, east, west. I speak what I like. So welcome to it. My name is Ipon Lovu. This is I Speak What I Like. What if the next global shift doesn't come from a new superpower, but from a region the world has underestimated for decades? Not because it lacks resources, but because it hasn't been fully organized. Now, across Southern, Central, and East Africa, there's a concentration of wealth that quietly powers the modern world. From mines to the port to energy fields, the foundation is already there. But there's a real question most people don't ask. Why do resource-rich regions often remain economically constrained, while resource-poor regions dominate the global market? It's because resources alone don't create power. Structures does. Coordination does. Strategy does. And when you start to look at countries like South Africa, Angola, Zambia, Mozambique, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, you begin to see something bigger than geography. You see a system waiting to be connected. So in this video, we are not just asking a question, what if Africa rises? I'm asking something more serious. What will it actually take to turn resources into real wealth? Sustained global influence. Let me repeat that again. What will it actually take to turn resource wealth into real sustained global influence? Now, if you really want to understand power today, don't start with armies. Start with supply chain. Because the modern world doesn't run on ideology. It runs on energy. It runs on mineral. It runs on logistics. And this is where things get interesting. Some of the most critical minerals on Earth are concentrated in just few places. Take DRC, for instance. It holds a massive share of the world's cobalt supply. Now, cobalt isn't just another metal. It's a key component in lithium-ion batteries, electric vehicles, and energy. We're speaking about energy storage systems. No cobalt, no battery economy. Now that means every major shift towards clean energy and electrification quietly depends on what happens in one country. And that is DRC. Now expand that picture now. Bring Zambia into the picture. Look at Zambia. Copper, essential for electric wiring, infrastructure, renewable energy system. Then you add South Africa with platinum group metal, that is critical for hydrogen tech and industrial processes. These are optional resources, no more, but they are foundational. Now shift to energy. Angola oil, Mozambique natural gas, Tanzania expanding gas reserves. Because energy doesn't just power homes, it powers industries, and without stable energy, industry growth stops. Now look at geography. Kenya, East African trade hub. Mozambique, access to the Indian Ocean. Somalia, one of the longest coastlines in Africa. These aren't just locations, they are gateways. Control movement and you influence trade. Control movement of the resources within the region, and you control influence. So let's take everything together now. The critical minerals on DRC, Zambia, and South Africa, the energy on Angola, Mozambique, and Tanzania, and trade routes, Kenya, Somalia, and the southern ports. That's not a random collection of countries anymore. That's a complete economic system. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Having resources doesn't automatically translate into power. In fact, history shows the opposite. Many resource-rich regions remains dependent, but they export raw material, and that's the reason. They export raw material and import finished goods. So the real issue isn't what these countries have. It is how the value is captured or lost. And that brings us to the next critical layer, not resources, but what you do with them. Owning resources is one thing, but controlling the value they create is something else entirely. Because in today's economy, the real money is not at extraction, it's made at transformation. And that is where the system breaks. Now, right now, the pattern looks like this. Raw materials are extracted, shipped out, processed somewhere else, then sold back at a higher price. Same resources, different value. Take copper from Tanzania, exported raw. It's worth one thing because it's raw. But once it becomes wiring, components, electronics, its value multiplies. Now apply that to the entire region. Cobalt from the DRC could become battery cells, energy storage system, and export-ready technology. That's the difference between supplying the world and powering the world. But this doesn't happen automatically. It requires something people overlook, coordination. Because no single country can do everything alone. Nada. One country has minerals, another has ports, another has industrial capacity, but when they operate separately, the very leaks of the system. When they align, value stays inside. Now, imagine the structure. Minerals sourced from inland regions, processed in regional industrial zones, and exported through coordinated ports. That's not theory. That's how successful regions operate. It's about building supply chains, not just exports. Building industries, not just extraction. Building systems, not just transactions. Because systems create power. And none of this works without energy. So the gas from Mozambique, the oil from Angola, renewable potential across the region. Energy is not just supply. It's the foundation of industry. Now, without reliable power, factories don't run, production slows, investments disappears. No energy, no industrial future. Maybe that's why America is so eager to control the oil of the world. Think about it. Now, so the real transformation is not about having resources. It's about building value chains, building infrastructure, building industrial capacity. And once that happens, everything else changes. Instead of exporting potential, the region starts exporting products, systems, and innovations. But there's one factor that determines whether this works or completely falls apart. Governance. Now, at this point, the question is no longer are the resources there or not? That's already answered. The real question is, can the system manage them effectively? Because history is very clear on this. Resource wealth alone does not guarantee success. In many cases, it creates instability. This is what the economist calls resource paradox. Now, countries rich in minerals and energy sometimes struggle with corruption, weak institutions, and policy instability. Now, and when that happens, value disappears. So if a region wants to move from potential to power, it has to get one thing right: governance. Governance. Not a perfect governance, but consistent, reliable governance. And that means clear policies investors can trust, institutions that enforces rules, and leadership that prioritizes long-term growth, because uncertainty kills investment. If policies are changed every year, or if policies changes every year, if contracts unrespected, if systems are unpredictable, capital leaves. Now, and without capital, development slows. Strong systems don't need to be perfect. They need to be predictable, transparent, and scalable. That's what builds confidence. Now, take it one step further. This isn't just about individual countries. It's about coordination across borders. Because if one country builds efficiently, but the next creates bottlenecks, the whole system slows down. Supply chains are not as strong, are only as strong as their weakest link, are not as strong as their potential part, are only as strong as their weakest link. Now that's where regional frameworks matters. Aligned trade policies, streamlined border processes, shared infrastructural planning. This is how separate economy becomes one system. And once that system is stable, it becomes attractive to investors, attractive to manufacturers, attractive to global partners, because stability attracts capital. But here is the part people don't like to talk about. Governance is not a technical problem. It's a discipline problem. It requires accountability. It requires long-term thinking. It requires a resistance to short-term gains. And that's where the real transformation happens, because now you have resources, you have value creation, you have infrastructure, you have governance. You're no longer building potential, you are building a momentum. And momentum leads to something even bigger: influence. Influence. Now I want you to imagine the countries mentioned above, the type of influence they can have globally if they were united, aligned in policies, aligned in streamlined border processes, and shared infrastructural planning. We no longer extract and export, we extract, process, and export fully developed innovations. We no longer sell what we extract, but we sell value from that which we extract. I want you to think about it. This is Sipondo. I speak what I like. Thank you. I will see you on the next one, part 2 of this segment. We are looking what if Southern Africa unites from DRC all the way to South Africa. I will see you on the next one. Thank you. I love you.